Hello everyone, my name is Debbie. Okay, I want to ask you guys, what type of pattern do you guys use for your ready to wear? When I'm talking about ready to wear, I'm not talking about bubu. I'm not talking about loose wear, kaftan, all those ones. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying, what I'm talking about, or the ready to wear outfit that I am referring to, is the church outfit, the church wears, the office wears, the fitted garments, the corporate wears. That's what I'm talking about, not bubu and the likes. No. So I want to ask, what type of pattern do you use for those wears that you call ready-made, okay, that are already made, lying in your shop or waiting for someone to come get them or buy and wear? Do you understand what I'm saying? So what type of pattern do you use? In my fashion school, I introduced two types of pattern to my students. The first pattern is a bespoke type of pattern. That's the pattern you use for bespoke services. Now, somebody comes into your shop and says she needs a dress or she wants a dress, okay? And you take the measurements and draft the pattern according to the measurement. And there's another pattern that is meant for ready-made outfits that you don't even need to see the person that will wear it. You don't even need to know the person. Maybe somebody calls you from UK, for example, or from outside the country and says, Debbie, I need 10 size 10 dresses, 15 size 16 dresses, and so on. Now, you do not need to start asking them to send their measurements, right? What if the person wants to sell and she needs you to, work on this and send to her? So what kind of pattern do you use? Or do you think it's the same pattern you use for bespoke that you can use for this ready to wear? Now, for bespoke services, you will notice that when you're taking your measurement or taking your client's measurement, you notice there's a difference between the front length, meaning shoulder to waist of the front parts, okay? There's a difference between your front waist length and your back waist length, right? So, for example, mine is 19.5. And I mean for the front now, for the back is 17.5. So you can see that there's a difference of 2 inches. Yes, difference of 2 inches. Now, you can use that for your bespoke, okay? But when it comes to ready to wear pattern or the pattern used for ready to wear, you do not need to differentiate the two, okay? The waistline shares, like the front and back pattern share the same waistline. Front and back pattern share the same bust line. Front and back pattern share the same hip line. So from the back, your waistline is running from the back to the front, the same line. You are not trying to say, oh, front is 19.5 and back is 17.5. So they don't share the same line when it comes to bespoke. But for ready to wear, they share the same waistline, the same hip line, the same bust line. Okay? So, what type of pattern do you use for ready to wear? I hope it is not the pattern you say, oh, the difference is 2 inches. For example, in my office today, somebody came and I measured her and I discovered that her back waist length is about 14 inches and the front is 19.5. In fact, it's even 20. I just decided to remove half from it. In that case, how do you manage that? Okay, so but for bespoke services, of course, you can find your way around it and it will be perfect, right? For the ready to wear pattern or the pattern you use for ready to wear, how do you manage that? Okay, because I've seen a lot of fashion students using the same pattern for ready to wear, and they're like, and some of them, when you tell them, oh, please do size 10, and they start asking for measurements. What's going on? I have been to boutiques where they sell dresses, and I enter the shop or the boutique and I ask them, please, do you have size 18? Do you have size 20? And they give it to me and it fits. I don't need to start asking them, or maybe they start asking me, okay, what is your measurement? What do you think? So what type of pattern do you use? It's very important because I'm going to be discussing more on this in my next video. Thank you.